technology is known as ADS-B. So flights that fly in and around my area with a 150 kilometer range, I'd say, transmit ADS-B information. And this is usually received by airports and other flight trackers. Like you have online apps such as Flightradar24 and FlightAware, which give you this sort of data, positional data on planes and other, let's say, other flying machines like helicopters, drones, etc. And what I've basically done is created a local version of that. So again, using the RTL SDR at 1090 megahertz, I am able to receive those radio waves directly from the plane, decode them on device, and I use a Raspberry Pi for this, decode them on device, and get a web UI to see the information. That's basically how the flight tracker works.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing all those details. It seems like that I am not talking to a 10th or 11th or maybe the school kid. It seems like that I am talking to a scientist who did something, which is very interesting. Share something about, have you ever been, to the Indian Space ISRO or something, or NASA, or do you have any plan to visit such places?
Well, in fact, I have been to both. Back when I was, I think, 6 years old, me and 3 other friends had gone to ISRO, like close to the launch pad, to witness the GSLV Mark III launch. So this was the second launch of that certain rocket which we witnessed, and it was another inspiration for me, getting me to know more about rockets, space, and just that field. And for NASA, I went to, it was basically a field trip for a couple of weeks, which was hosted by my school back in Gurgaon. And my experience over there was amazing, in one word. I got to experience, being an astronaut in microgravity, launching in the SLS, in the Boeing Starliner. And I also got to know a lot more from the scientists over there, which was an awesome experience back then.
Interesting. How many hours you sleep?
Say about a good 7 to 8 hours. I do lose sleep sometimes. In fact, I have over the past 2 days. Due to my interests, hobbies, and some projects of my own, I do lose sleep, I should say, but I usually get a decent 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
Do you play something, any outdoor games or something?
Well, I do play football and cricket with my friends. Not every day, but at least every week.
Interesting. So, who is your coach? Who is coaching you and inspiring you in doing all those activity and keeping you energized for whatever you do?
Well, for my interests, I would say myself, because it's just when I come across something and it's part of my interest or it's related to my interest, I just have this feeling that I should go further, I should dig deeper into it. I should know more about this topic, and if possible, I should experiment at home, which is another interesting thing I find, experimenting. And of course, my dad supports me through all of this, be it buying equipment for small projects or even buying a telescope for astrophotography. My dad guides me through all of this.
Interesting. So I see a movie is going to be super duper hit and the director is sitting there who ensures that everything whatever is required for So interesting to have you, Yash, on this conversation, and lovely interacting with you. Riddhi, if you have any question further, or we both will discuss, Yash, father and myself.
No, it's fine. I don't have any questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Riddhi and Yash. Really lovely, hearing both of you. And Yash, you are an amazing guy. I would love to meet you in person. Yash, I recently interviewed a guy who is from Indian Air Force. His name is Air Marshal Anil Khosla. right?
Huh.
So on this, the Independence Day, I interviewed him about his experience, and he was the one who was leading the project of this airstrike on Pakistan.
Huh.
Yeah, so he was talking very amazing and the thrilling things about flying all those MiG and Rafale and all this, and he was the master, especially in flying all those the flying objects.
Hmm.
Rather, I have expressed my wish to, I would like to be a part of such the flying experience, not our routine flights and other thing, but especially the fighter jets, the speed that they pick up within a second for many kilometers and like this, right? So this is altogether a really very thrilling experience, and but nevertheless, thank you so much for sharing all those insights, and
Anytime.
wishing you a very very bright career in the future, and
Thank
possibly
you so
this
much.
podcast you will remember in the time to come that the first podcast happened on this, and I was sitting like
Of
this.
course, I definitely will. That's no doubt about
I'd like
that.
to just add something to this.
Please.
Since you mentioned, Air Force and aircraft, and um, I'm sure we know Captain Nachiketa, the war hero.
Mhm.
So I didn't know who he was. I mean, face to face, and he lived in the same society as us.
Oh.
And one of those fine evenings, Yash, out of a sudden, we usually don't do astrophotography within the campus because it's very, what do you say, heavily light polluted.
Yeah.
So we prefer going to the terrace, as in, so this is a 32 floor apartment. So there are helipads on each towers. So I had to write to the president, and in fact, so this incident happened before that. So since we did not have access to the terrace, we went to the park here, which was not the best place because kids are running around this, that, and all that. But he still wanted to do something. This was like about 2.5 years back, and Captain Nachiketa walked in. I didn't know who he was. In fact, Yash's mom, my wife, was also with me, and she recognized him for whatever reason. And he was very impressed with what Yash was doing. So he asked for his images. He showed him his images, and he came home actually to meet him in person. So and Captain Nachiketa was like, oh wow, this is it was really. In fact, he actually also sent his son, who is doing his graduation right now, I guess, here at Hyderabad, to meet him once. He had gifted a calendar that he created, one of these calendars for his project. So this is like each month with a one of his best captures that he's come up with. So these are the calendars that he's created. So this is for 2024, and I hope, yes, you create one for. Oh, you have one too. Okay, and I hope you would
Oh,
create
interesting.
one for next year too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was another inspiration, in fact, because after meeting Captain Nachiketa, he helped us in getting access to the helipad on the tower. So after that, we didn't really have to go that far, unless it's like, of course we do that weekends, but during weekdays when he had lighter days, we used to go up 32 floors, take the helipad, and he's done astrophotography from there also. So yeah, I just remember that when he spoke about Air Force, and Captain Nachiketa just hit my head.
Yeah, it's really pretty interesting. There is a will, there is a way. The people are there to help you out. You need to just tell them, ask them, demand them, and they are there
Exactly.
to help you, support you. So how are you nurturing, this brilliant talent, for maybe not only for India, for the world, but probably, and this is something going to be very phenomenal in the future. We do not have, the ample amount of such, the astronauts and the people like this, the way the field, the space technology and the space, the kid like Yash.
And I'll tell you why. I don't think in India we encourage a lot for this. Now, it's not just about parents' ambitions. Parents are obviously ambitious to send their kids, or to have them get whatever they need based on their interest. But you don't get those equipments and all that's needed for these projects in India. So I mean, we are a developing country, but so I travel a lot during my work. So, so whenever I travel, specifically either to the US or the Europe, I keep buying stuffs from there. And these are stuffs like, say, for example, Yash mentioned he is running his Macintosh, Mac, on a Lenovo, what do you say, machine. I don't think he did justice to this by just saying a word of it. It takes a long time. At least that's what I see him, stuck with it. And you need a specific type of Wi-Fi adapter. It's this smaller device. It's a chip. It's this smaller device that has to be manually replaced on your laptop. You have to change the adapter to a specific brand. I guess it's a Broadcom brand or something.
Yes.
Yeah, Broadcom, and there is a specific model, that he needs, and that's the only way that he can run, Mac operating system on a Lenovo machine for its complete functionality. I mean, it'll run, but for its complete functionality, like, the continuity. He has 3 Macs at home. He will not use it. He will not touch the Mac. So what I've seen in him is he has this curiosity of developing things for better. He would like to pick up something and change its format and make it deliver something even better. And this is something that I've seen right from his childhood. And he would pick up something and he would say, okay, if this can function this way, why can't I make it this way? So that curiosity is something that I saw in him right from his childhood. And precisely, so I'm a techie guy myself as my background. I come from an IT background. Developing programming, and servers, this, that are just my daily part. So, even when I do stuffs at home, I mean, I'm talking about when Yash was a kid, he was barely like 6-7 years old. I used to automate my home back then with Alexa and all that. But Alexa was a hype at that point. So he picked up on all those, and he got interested in all those. And then I I saw him opening up his PC, and I'm like, okay, what are you up to? This is, there's something that I want to change. I want to add 2 graphics cards to the same machine so that, I'll get more whatever. So he also tried to do some, Bitcoin mining with his graphic cards, which he was successful on. But of course, that he didn't want to continue with that because that was not a source of income that he would want to use. It was more experimental for him to understand the technology behind it and all that. In fact, he goes to a point where saying, Papa, one of my friends has to come. So what do? I just have a desktop, and I don't want to give my laptop to him because my laptop has a lot of other stuff. So my desktop is a robust machine, it has a very good processor and all that. I want to convert this into 2 machines. And I'm like, okay, we call that virtualization in the IT world. So what are you planning to do on that? And I was actually amazed when he said, I'm going to use some VMware as my virtualizer and all that. I'm like, these are all corporate enterprise terms, that people use in server rooms or the Google server, data centers and all that. I'm like, okay, fine, go ahead, what are we? So they had this, all that I told him was make sure that you get a very, a valid license. It shouldn't sound, unwanted otherwise. But yeah, so what he did was, then he ended up connecting 2 keyboards, 2 mouse to the same machine that will run 2 different operating systems, 2 Windows operating systems, again, of the same machine. Since he has 2 graphics cards, he dedicated one, again, just correct me, I think this is, I'm just...
no, you're on the right way. I'll just explain it a bit more. So, I have 2 graphics cards, a GTX 1660 Super and a GTX 950. So, using VMware EXSI, the tool my dad was talking about, I basically allotted 1 card to each virtual machine. So even if 2 people are playing on the same physical machine, they still have a high graphics performance fidelity in this case.
Very nice.
So that's what helped him, so if his friends come, he can have the same machine host for 2 different friends, for himself and his friend, and then they can play. So these are things that I saw in him right from his childhood. I still remember, we were just walking out, and he was fascinated with the skies, right from a small. And I would say, oh, look at that star, that's very bright. And he's like, Papa, that bright one is not a star. I'm like, okay. So that bright one is the Jupiter, actually. So trust me, today, any astronomy or any knowledge of the stars and skies that I have, it was not my field. It is because of his interest. he comes telling me that, oh, that is not a star, that's Jupiter. The one that you see right next to it, a little bit east towards it, a little more dimmer, that's Saturn. And I'm like, really? Then he says, okay, fine, let me show you. And again, this is again when he was some 8 years, 9 years old, roughly, back in Chennai. So he managed to get some app, it seems, on the phone, and which can show you a live view of where the locations are also of the stars and
Mhm.
planets. And I was like, oh wow, that indeed is a planet and not a star. Like as I thought. So I could see all this interest in him right from the beginning, and I sort of encouraged it. I mean, I don't ever recall me or my wife guiding him or pushing him into something. Oh, forget that, do this. Like during our times, it was all about either what do you want to become? You want to become an engineer or a doctor? Well, these are the two predominant fields that we had back then. But today things are different, and the way I see this guy getting into, exploring technology, doing his own research, and all that sort of stuff. I made sure that I'm able to, get him all that's needed, big or small, as per, as much as I can, to sort of enhance and promote and build up on his, hobbies and interests that he has, and I'm glad I did that. every phase, like what Yash mentioned, we had taken him to ISRO for a launch, and that's when he started all launch. This rocket, that rocket, PSLV, GSL. I don't even know half of the names. Falcon 9. That's when he came to know Elon Musk. Then he keeps telling me, what, this new rocket. Again, this is when he was when he was 8 years old. About the rocket, it comes back and lands. I didn't know that. So SpaceX, I guess this was back in 2008 or 9 when they developed that technology, I guess, or a little later. So I was like, really? I mean, what I knew was, it gets dropped in the ocean somewhere. It doesn't come back. Why do you want to bring it back? They're reusing it so that they can save money. Okay, wow. So that's where I could figure out that he's actually picked up his path. He really knows, I think, where he wants to get. While I think he's still in a mix of he wants to get, but I see that he always keeps telling me, I really want to build something different. He is more, so he is fascinated with aircrafts, but I don't think he is into pilot or he wants to be a pilot or something. No, I think he wants to build an aircraft, or so building technology that could make aircrafts more safer or whatever. So he's fascinated with the technology piece of it, and I make sure that I support him, be it with books, be it with whatever needed, licenses, or tools and techniques that you need, be it telescope, be it guide cameras. I mean, I've never seen a guide camera and a camera that's specifically used for astrophotography until I brought one for him. I didn't even know that there are specific cameras for astrophotography. So I'm glad that I'm able to support him, and and I see that he's grown up really well. He's picked up that good interest, and he dedicates most of his time either with his studies or such hobbies. I don't think he wastes his time with unwanted steps here and there. Otherwise, in spite of being a teenager, but so that's the best that we as parents, we try to support him with.
Interesting. I remember, when my son was in class 8th or 9th, and I think Riddhi will be able to relate this. Riddhi, can you come on the screen for a while? So in the evening walk, whenever we saw the sky is clear, we used to see a lot of, the Orion belt or something. I don't remember exactly. But Riddhi and her brother, Ishan, they were able to locate, Papa, this is one, what is that? And I'm unable to recall it properly right now. Riddhi, can you share if you remember something of that sort?
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know much about it, but my brother just told me that it's just a line of 3 stars, like consecutively in one line, and that's the Orion's belt. And he told me some story about that. It was some like a fable or something about some man called Orion, like in the ancient times, and I honestly forgot about that. I don't remember much. I'd have to ask my brother.
So the purpose
the reason I'm smiling is Pankaj, when I heard this Orion belt story, for Yash at day one, I'm like, my belt's color is black. I can show it to you. So I have a black belt. So I think this also happens to be one of his favorite images. Yes, would you like to talk about this Orion
I
belt and
actually
Orion?
have that right here.
Uh-huh.
So
Very
that's the
nice.
Orion Nebula,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that's the Orion Nebula. I captured that.
Wow.
And in terms of the Orion Belt, the three stars that Riddhi was talking about,
Yeah.
on the lower star, its name is Alcatraz, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, Alnitak, if I'm not mistaken. There's a set of three other stars, out of which the middle one is actually the core of the Orion Nebula. So that's the structure, and of course, the image is Orion Nebula. I'll show that once again.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
image is Orion Nebula, and that's the middle star of, three star.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's really, really very fascinating kind of thing, when you think about all those things, and so much to explore, so much to learn. And I do not know how much we are aware about those all these astrophenomena which are happening each and every second, each and every moment in the time. And time itself is also, again another, the unexplored area.
It's
Right.
one
Einstein
hell
has
of a concept,
Einstein has
let's say.
discovered. Yeah. So Einstein has discovered that much we are aware about this, but theories are keep on changing as and when the discovery happens. Right. So thanks Yash for sharing. Riddhi, can you come on the camera? So another interesting thing is, over a period of time, you discover your hobbies and something, which you really find it to, much more interesting and relatable to you, and you really wanted to go further into that. So Riddhi is, she is doing whenever she gets time, she is into designing. So from last 3-4 days, we have been observing she is designing the logos on the t-shirts or something, and she wear her own design t-shirts.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
No, I just upcycling my old clothes to make them look better. So I just found some acrylic paint lying around and I started painting my old shirt.
Can you show some of
Really?
them, Riddhi, or maybe the t-shirt which
I'm
you
wearing
have?
one right now.
Yeah, just show it on the camera. You're unable to see that.
Oh wow,
I think
that's
already
nice.
seen that.
That's really cool.
So amazing conversation. Thank you so much, Yash, and thank you so much to Saju and Riddhi also for being here on this podcast. And wonderful time with you. Wish you all the best, Yash. I'm sure you will
Thank
be
you so
able to
much.
contribute to the nation, not only to the nation, to the world in the time to come.
Thank you so very much, Pankaj, for having Yash and me, on this podcast. I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm sure, now this part of me is just being as a parent. We all, support our kids in their interest, and in this era, it's not just engineering and doctors. There's like multiple things, be it data science. So one of Yash's other interests that he keeps telling me is that he wants to start designing chips. Like he loves the technology behind chips, the computer chips, and how they want to design it and all that. So that's another one of his fascinations that he's trying to pursue. So being a parent, all that I will say is, what we perhaps, I mean, again, I'm saying this in spite of being an IT guy for the last 22 years. There are still steps that we don't understand how the future would look like, in spite of being in this for last couple of decades. And information is power today. And trust me, a kid has way a lot of information or access to information, to say the least, be it in the form of mobile or television, YouTube channels, this, that. If used appropriately, and I'm sure you understand what I say that, when used appropriately for the right reasons, when internet as a technology, you can learn a lot. I mean, all that you have to need is, have the right level of interest for the kid, and, they would be able to dive into any topic of their interest and learn a lot. So parents out there, just be open and supportive. of course they would need guidance at times on what's to be done. So for me, I'm more of a logistic guy for Yash. When he goes for astrophotography, I carry the tripod and all that thing because they're really heavy. The telescope and the tripods are really heavy. So and I have enjoyed this journey in growing Yasha, because I've learned a lot myself that I never could in my school days or my college days or my early professional days. No, I couldn't, because that it didn't really I didn't really have an exposure to any of that at all. But with Yash's interest, I also got inclined towards knowing more of it. So, but yeah, the parents out there, just be open. I mean, listen to your kids, as in try to understand what they're trying to gauge, and keep in mind there are a lot of things that they understand better than us. It's their era. But yeah, I mean, that proper guidelines. Trust me, you can get your kid to any interest that they like, and success that they're looking forward to.
Yeah, I don't want to miss out one very important piece in this podcast, to thanking Yash moms for the contribution of her in the life of Yash in shaping. We as a father, we do nothing. We do very few things, but the ingredient of all those habits is come from the mother side. The appreciation, the togetherness, the transfer of knowledge, and bringing this, the innovation kind of mindset. So big kudos to your wife and the mother of Yash for bringing this kind of, the inculcating behavior mindset in Yash, so that we all will be having more such podcasts in the future.
Definitely, Pankaj. Thank you so very much once again for having us.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye, Dika. Bye-bye.